You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
I know the love in me wasn't always easy. Tried to hold on, and you felt like walking away when you couldn't see me. Felt like all your hope was gone, but I'm right here on bended knee. Please be my wife and stay with me. Just take my hand through stormy weather. We will stay. Let me be the one you run to. When you need me, I'll be there. Just to let them know that I do care. Baby, I promise you, I'll always be true. And baby, I promise. Baby, I promise. Baby, I'll be right here for you. No matter the problem. No matter the problem, baby. I'll stand by your side. For the love we share can never be denied. Can't be denied, can't be denied, can't be denied, can't be denied. I'll always be true. I'll always be.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Henry, for that lovely introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is season 15, episode 10. And in this episode, we are recapping the WNBA weekend. Great weekend of basketball. Still unreal that the season already started. We have some of us have already played 3 games. We got still plenty of basketball. Loving the energy, seeing from this first week. I'm starting to. I'm liking what I'm seeing with the momentum from the March Madness tournament to the season. I'm really happy. The views for the opening weekend were spectacular. I mean, we almost saw Brianna Stewart get a 50-piece. The return of BG, the Washington Mystics on opening night, sending a message to that super team in New York. There's also some teams that need some work. The Las Vegas Aces, I think, are on the path to going back to the championship. Other than that, man, it was just a great weekend of basketball. But before we get into that, thank you for the support you're giving me on this channel. Again, you can also follow me on Maryland Sports Blog. I will have a piece that will be out painfully as the Washington Mystics lost at the ESA round 2 against Connecticut. You'll see a piece on MarylandSportsBlog.com, and you'll see the pre and post games uploaded on the channel. Again, just thank you for the support you're giving me in this channel. You're going to see a lot of great content. I'm excited to share that with you guys. I appreciate the support you've given me. It's not going unnoticed. How we're going to do this, we're going to do it by ranking. And I think these rankings are fair. Simply a couple things. Some teams are still dealing with injuries. Example, Phoenix. Megan Gustafsson is still dealing with an injury. Shea Petty is working her way back from an injury. Skylar Diggins-Smith is out on maternity leave. The Washington Mystics don't have Maisha Hines-Allen. Raquana Williams for Las Vegas is out dealing with an injury. So there's some teams that are missing some key players. I'm also kind of questioning some of the roster decision making. As I said, 42% of this past draft, this 2023 WNBA draft class made a WNBA roster. And some of these teams need to call a player like Bria Bill back. As an example, because some of these rosters, these decision making is real interesting to me. But we're going to start painfully with I just think that I think that a team that's just going to have growing pains throughout the season, and that is the Indiana Fever. I really think as much as this team is literally it's a rebuild. The scheduling for them did no favors for them. They opened up against the Sun and the Liberty, and we should not be surprised. Um, I mean, Aaliyah Boston to me, I think is going to be Rookie of the Year. Um, I just in the first two games, she's averaged 30 points, combined 30 points, 13 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 11 out of 17 from the field. I'm not mad at that. But I do question, I am concerned about some of the roles for Indiana. I really would have liked to know. I think Destiny Henderson should still be on this team. Erica Wheeler, I'm a fan of hers. They paid her. They paid her a bag. And the watching that, particularly that Liberty game, a lot of body language, and that's not just from her. The roles are still not truly defined in Indy, but again, we're still early in the season. I think again, new head coach, because if you understand, there's some leftovers from when Maureen Stanley and then Carlos Knox last year. There's multiple fingerprints on this team. So this team is still trying to find its identity. And I think what lineups and situations work well with each other. The Minnesota Lynx. I really would like to know what Cheryl Reeves meant by calling Ariel Powers a bench player in her post game. Last night. I thought that was really random because she paid her to be practically as a starter. Opening night, they'll get me started with them. Other than Diamond Miller looked good out there, collectively, they didn't do so well, particularly shooting under 35%. They only scored 3 points in the second quarter in that game. That's simply not going to win you basketball games. And turned the ball over 20 times. They need defense. And this Minnesota team has talent, but they look really out of sync. They need a true point guard on that roster. And maybe they'll get it in this. I think they can make a trade, or they just ride the wave and see what they get in next year's draft. But me personally, I thought they should have looked for one in this past draft, but they waived Bria Beal. I think she should still be back on this roster. I mean, Diamond Miller's not a point guard, but they're just lacking it. And I can't defend that. Number 10, Seattle. Getting blown up by 41 points opening night to Las Vegas. That's their biggest loss in franchise history, if I'm saying that correctly. Again, this is a team that doesn't have Brandon Stewart or Sue Bird. But this is clearly Jewel Lloyd's team, and it's going to be some work. They're going to make sure they put some couple pieces around her. I think Jordan Horston has some potential of also being the right Rookie of the Year. Mercedes Russell's working her way back because last year she missed a good part of last season due to medical condition. I'm happy for Kyla Charles from Maryland Terrapin that she is getting an opportunity. I like the role that she's getting so far. But this Seattle Storm team definitely has some work because Jewel is going to have a interesting 40 games carrying this team. Number 9, Phoenix. The return of Brittany Griner. I'm happy. They're really good. It was 579 days back on the WNBA court. At 45 points, 16 rebounds, 8 blocks in 2 games. I just think, again, you're missing some players. Like I said, you don't have Megan Gustafson. Shea Petty's not there. So Shug Seton, I think, is carving out a role. In my personal opinion, she's definitely finding her way. She played for the Washington Mystics a few years ago. I think she's definitely finding her way in that rotation. But again, Sophie Cunningham's coming back off of knee injury. Megan Gustafson's dealing with a knee injury. No, not knee injury. I think it's a foot. I know, but Megan Gustafson was out for that game. And Shea Petty's working her way back from the Achilles. So give them some time when everybody gets back healthy. I think they'll be okay. Number 8, first and foremost, some of my thoughts and prayers to Isabel Harrison. Get well soon. Wishing for you for a speedy recovery. She had surgery. Same thing. I think Dana Evans being in that starting rotation is doing really good because on the defensive, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, she's doing a lot for them. So far, they're 2-0. But again, they're facing teams. They faced a Minnesota Lynx team that really is not here yet, and then they're facing a Phoenix Mercury team that's dealing with injuries and rotation. So let's see what they look like against the Mystics this upcoming Friday. I want to see what they look like really against a team I think that can challenge them. Number 7, the Los Angeles Sparks. Winning against the Phoenix Mercury on opening night. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the 10th time that a team won at least by 20 points while shooting under 40%. Ring your hand on that stat. Zaya Cook looked really good out there. 14 points in her debut. Same thing, rotation, just give her some more time. Everything's going to gel perfectly. I think that the Sparks are a lot better than what I thought they would be. And I see them making some surprises. Before we get into numbers 6 through 1, let's get to the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? Well, you can and you will dress like you're already famous. Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
And you can most certainly do that, with a nice 15% off using my code BIGNATE. Again, thank you for Zagnif Apparel for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you will dress like you're already famous. We'll be right back. We're back. Number 6, the Dallas Wings. Tara McCowan will be heading off to back overseas for overseas commitments. She was out Saturday because of the left knee. No, not left knee. It was a knee injury, excuse me. She should be ready for this upcoming game. Unfortunately, Diamond DeShields and the 5th overall pick, Lou Lopez, are out for an extended period of time.
What are you? How?
That's disappointing. I didn't know Diamond was dealing with an extended knee injury. But so far, I mean, give Coach Trammell credit. They are coming. They're starting to put. They looked really good against Atlanta. They held an opening night was under 40% and forced them to turn the ball over 19 times. As the season progressed, they're going to face some tougher teams like Connecticut, Washington, New York, Las Vegas. I'll put Atlanta on that list again when they rematch. But it's going to be interesting to see what these rotations look like. That's disappointing to see Diamond and Lou Lopez out. But then I think when Tierra leaves to go back overseas, that's going to be interesting. But a healthy Satu Sabli and Enrique Gubawale, that is going to be a dangerous dynamic duo.
Guaranteed.
So, number 5, the Atlanta Dream. I'm liking what I'm seeing. This is my sleeper to get to the conference finals. Bit of a tough start, but they're starting to bounce their way back. Unfortunately, they did lose the other night to Minnesota, painfully. But given it again, we're still early midst of the season. We really should be panicking. It's game 2, game 3 out of 40. Alicia Gray, she'd have a tough start. But again, in that comeback, this is why you appreciate her offensive creation, perimeter defense, those different things like that. Ryan Howard, Naz Hillman. Naz Hillman is my most improved player of the year, in my personal opinion. Give it more time, and in the Atlanta Dream, excuse me, they'll bounce back. 4, Washington Mystics. The Mystics are a couple things. Opening night was good for me because we embarrassed that super team in New York. But then going to Connecticut Sunday and then yesterday losing to the Connecticut Sun, Elena Della and Shakira Austin, a 1-2 punch that I think is going to be deadly in this season. The defense, I already see what it's going to be. I think we're going to finish. I'm going to call it. The Washington Mystics will finish with the best defense in the WNBA.
Guaranteed.
But again, the 3-point shooting has been something to watch. But up until this game yesterday, the Washington Mystics, out of 44 threes, attempted, only made 9 of them.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
Some of that, I think it's some of them are good. Some of them were good looks. Some of them were questionable looks. And some of that was dictated by the defense, against Connecticut. I watched them the first quarter come out aggressive. And then when Connecticut actually started playing defense and contesting shots, things look different. Now, also, too, I think what makes a big difference is not having Aisha Hines-Allen there. Aisha Hines-Allen, to me, is the Alyssa Thomas for the Mystics. She's physical. I think that's something Washington needed in these two games. There's no timetable in her return. We've asked Coach Eric a couple times, and nothing so far. Number 3, the New York Liberty. I'm concerned only in terms of this. The roles in New York are not truly defined, in my opinion. When you and this is going to be interesting to watch throughout the season. I still think when you have that amount of talent, what Liberty do, there has to be some way of, okay, how do we ensure the ball movement for everyone is getting a decent amount of touches? Opening night for the Liberty, Sabrina took the most shots. Jonquel only took less. And that's going to be my concern, because there's going to be some nights where one night Sabrina's taking 25 shots, Brianna's taking 15, or Jonquel's taking 10. It's reversed. The roles in New York are not clearly defined. And also for players like Benijah Laney, who I still think is trying to figure out what her role in that offense is, and even on the defensive side of the ball. Sandy Brondello, Coach Brondello has some work to do as season progresses. Now, the other night, you just saw Brianna Stewart put on an MVP performance, which I'm not mad at, because that's just Brianna Stewart. That's just her greatness. I mean, 45 points. She tied Elena Deladon for the 7th highest single points in a game scored. But I mean, at one point in the game, they were up by 32. So, I mean, I'm not really mad at that. And also too, I think Han Shu should be getting some more minutes. But also too, they actually, I might say, they need an actual point guard. They might have to look for a point guard in that system, in my personal opinion. But we'll see how it looks. Number 2, the Connecticut Sun, the cheat code. They are without no Jonquel Jones. Hey, they're signs of the critics. I was curious to see what it looked like once they lost an MVP, but being an Indiana Fever team, and then bounced back from a double deficit against Washington Sunday, and then came back to the ESA and embarrassed us. I really, really think that Alyssa Thomas will be in the MVP conversation.
Guaranteed.
Her play is just watching these 3 games. It's ridiculous. It's just amazing to watch. Just what she does for the team. Brianna Jones, it was great to see her, get her first 3. Even if she was making her preseason, she kind of struggled in the first couple games, but she got a couple fall down in this past game Tuesday. Still trying to figure out the rotations in Connecticut. I'm curious to know why Dejanay Carrington has not gotten minutes. I'm really curious to see the rotations. They still need some work. Again, we're still in game 3 out of 40, so I think as time progresses, I think we're just kind of seeing what works, what doesn't work. But I'm curious to really know why Dejanay Carrington has not been getting minutes, and that's interesting. And then number 1, the team who's going back to the WNBA Finals, that's Las Vegas Aces. They're not worried. I felt like some stories that were put out after the Becky Hammond got suspended, like they're supposed to bother Vegas, and I think they're just picking up right where they left off. I mean, their versatility on both sides of the ball, particularly with Candace Parker. Just that lineup is just going to be that's like something you would see on 2K. It's going to be really. And I can't wait to see when the Mystics play them, because I mean, even though they played a Seattle Storm team, that I just think is in the rebuilding mode, transition phase. I mean, Alicia Clark, Candace Parker, Jackie Young, Sid Colston. Like, what else do you want me to say? Like this was easy. This was easy work for them. So let's see what I think this is a team that's going to go back to the WNBA Finals. Also, too, really quick for Chicago, Elizabeth Williams was back. Good to see her out there as well. Couple things I liked about her game. Same thing when she was getting with the Mystics. Her rim protection. That's all. I mean, particularly against Phoenix, I think she were limited to 28 points in the paint. So it's good to see her back out there. But once Isabel Harrison comes back too, that will definitely bolster that paint defense in my personal opinion. But let's get into the final thought of the podcast.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
The final thought. This was a great weekend of WNBA basketball. I wanted to pull something up for you guys. I thought this was interesting. It was a report of the opening weekend. It's the most viewed. The average views was almost about 589,000 with opening weekend of the 4 games. With the Storm and the Ace, 684,000. And then the most viewed opening weekend in 11 years. The Phoenix Mercury versus Los Angeles Sparks, 683,000. You know, these are things that help the game grow. You know, again, the criticisms, we've all heard it with the W and all these other things. But I again, just encourage, I should say is a better word. Let's watch one game. You know, you can talk about the pace, you could talk about all the other stuff, but basketball is basketball, in my opinion. And this season, in my personal opinion, I think will go down as probably one of the best seasons in the league's history, in my opinion. Great weekend. It's been about a month since mostly everybody came back from overseas. I'm curious to see what this schedule looks like. I'm not a fan of it right now because it's a lot of basketball in there, particularly in the midst of a FIBA year, in my opinion. So we just had 3 games in 5 days with the Mystics. That's basketball. But then have a break and up until Friday. So it's a great weekend. Again, just watch one game. It was a great weekend. We got plenty of basketball to go. Can't wait. But that's going to conclude this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. Be tuned in to future episodes of the podcast. Please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, this has been your host, signing out.
It's Friday night and I hit up the crew. Grab the keys, jump in my ride, cruise the town and find something new. Hit the club, the DJ's got the dance floor in a groove, and none of that compares to when I turn around and saw you. I can't understand it, girl. How you do the things I'm watching you do. While we're in this club, hey, all I wanna do is dance with you. I wanna dance with you. The moment that I saw your face, I knew I wasn't leaving till I got a chance to know you. But I'm still nervous, trying not to lose my cool. So I'm stuck sitting watching you. I don't know what to do. Can't understand. Oh, yeah. How you
Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share The Next Big Thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.